Welcome into Analyzing Attitude, episode 6. We're coming off the heels of In Your House to Generation X. This episode is on December 8th, 1997. It's an absolute banger. I've got a theory about the Attitude Era I'm going to give you today. Get ready for this week's episode. And Analyzing Attitude, episode number 6. My best Michael Jordan impersonation there. This is episode number 6 of this podcast, but it's episode number 137 of Monday Night Raw, and it comes from Portland, Maine, December 8th, 1997, right off the In Your House to Generation X pay-per-view. And Mike, we had this debate a couple of weeks ago on episode number 1. We had this conversation with Brian Alvarez last week as well about when the Attitude Era actually started. I think we might have jumped the gun, my friend. I think this week's episode of Raw is actually the episode where I think we could say the Attitude Era was in full effect. We're going to break all this down, but just a little bit of peek behind the curtain. We get the essentially the debut of Mr. McMahon. We get Sable in a bikini. We get Rock versus Austin. And this is kind of the tail end of Shawn Michaels' career, which is kind of ushering in the Austin era and starting the actual Attitude Era, in my opinion. This is such a good episode. We're obviously going to give our grades at the end of it. This is going to be my highest grade so far.
Same. Yeah, it was a lot history that happened in this episode, that at least where you see through the video package and stuff that we see today. Yeah, full steam ahead. Sable, DX, Austin, Mr. McMahon. It's a good show.
Yeah, and we I don't know how you felt about this. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Brian kind of alluded to it in the last episode, but I absolutely loathed/loved when they recapped pay-per-views and there was just still images. They wouldn't give you the videos. And as obviously during this time I was 9 years old, and I hated it because my parents couldn't afford pay-per-views. Yeah. I got to find out what happened at the pay-per-view on Monday nights. But what they did worked, and because not showing the video made me, even though I wasn't going to, but made me want to purchase those replays. Obviously, back in the 90s, you had the pay-per-views, and you could only buy them on replays. You couldn't buy them live if you missed the plan portion of it. And I like in hindsight, this is a great business decision by the Fed.
Yeah, it threw me back because I remember that too. The still images, but you still hear the announcers and even the action in the ring, even though it's still.
You'd hear the mat pop, all that.
Yes, and like the only way, and it took a long time, but the only way I could, anyways. Again, I couldn't afford pay-per-view, and my parents wouldn't buy it. But Blockbuster, you had to rent them from Blockbuster.
Man, I can't even tell you how many times we rented WrestleMania 6, Hogan versus Warrior. I mean, we probably kept Blockbuster in business, just me renting that video out every other week.
Yeah,
we talked about the start and a lot of firsts. The announced team to start the first episode, or the first hour, of Raw, is Kevin Kelly, Jim Ross, and for the first time in his career on commentary, Michael Cole at the booth. So a very cool moment there. Obviously goes on to be the voice of the WWE, but this is his very first episode actually sitting at the commentator's desk. And we open the show with Vince McMahon walking down to the ring, and he's referred to as the owner, the chairman of the board of the WWF. He walks to the ring shaking people's hands in the front row, and obviously the people closest to Vince, very happy to see him, very happy to shake his hand. He's getting booed throughout the arena, though, and you could see the realization that he's kind of going, okay, well, I'm not the babyface I thought I was going to be after Montreal, but we might have something here. And you could see the wheels turning in his head as the chairman of the board enters the ring.
Yes, comes to the ring like that crooked politician.
Yeah,
shaking hands. Sure. Thank God they're not
kissing
in Canada.
Babies.
Yeah.
Listen, they weren't in Canada. It wasn't a very warm reception anyway, though.
No, and it was loud boos, and it was actually kind of fitting that he came out to no music. We're still a little over a year away from No Chance in Hell.
Yeah.
But it gets in the ring.
Almost exactly a year with the Royal Rumble.
Yep. And I don't know. You could just look at him and know you hate this guy. especially with the Montreal stuff.
Which is crazy because, like, in the early 90s, like, he was the voice of the WWF. He was the lead commentator, and it was a very beloved figure, really pre-Jim Ross.
What a maneuver!
He beat me to it. But Vince grabs the mic, and in the course of booze, he says, "There's no denying the popularity of Stone Cold Steve Austin." And the place goes nuts. This is a sold-out arena. They had people standing in line outside for this Raw, watching on a keep in mind, this is 1997, not great quality picture, jumbotron outside the arena watching this. But he says that Austin has been getting away with murder, which gets an even louder cheer, by the way. And we kind of get the catalyst for why Stone Cold Steve Austin's truck has been such a focal point of this story, right? But Vince talks about he's attacked Jim Ross, he's attacked Commissioner Slaughter, he's attacked referees, and he's attacked myself, Vince McMahon, and the place goes nuts.
Yeah.
But he said that Austin went too far last night at In Your House, endangering the fans by driving his truck into the arena, which is really ironic in hindsight after what happened at WrestleMania this year with his ATV accident. And Vince McMahon, not going to get a lot of sympathy for me. He may have been onto something here back in 1997.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on the crowd reaction, this was, I think, the first time I saw 316 painted on people's bodies.
Oh, and the like this, and that was the other thing I meant to mention earlier when I was talking about the start of the Attitude Era. This was the first Raw where you can barely see people through the signs.
Right.
There are so many signs at these events. And this is before the day and age of them handing out signs and taking signs away. This is as authentic as it gets as well. But Vince says that Stone Cold Steve Austin last night stunned an official, and that official, and they show the replay, was getting ready to call for the bell so that he's going to have to redefend his title against TheRock again tonight. Mm-hmm. Thing that doesn't make sense about that, though, is if the official would have disqualified Austin, he still would be the champion tonight. It's a little bit of a lapse in logic there.
Yeah. They get to it, though, where they need to go by the end of the show. But, yeah, kind of, I don't know, just doesn't really make sense on that aspect. However, like I said, and we'll get to it at the end, they know what they were getting at. And it's to me, I know this is the second time they've been in the ring together, but Stone Cold and Vince.
What's the third? Vince was in the ring when he stunned Slaughter.
So. Oh, that's right. But they're back and forth, and we are seeing the start of a beautiful frenemy friendship.
Well, here comes the glass shatters, and out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin to an absolutely ruckus ovation. Austin comes down, and we talk about being defiant in this era and what really the Stone Cold Steve Austin character was. This promo may encompass all of that. Throwing the belt into the ring, already showing his complete disregard for the Intercontinental Championship to set up what happens later, not giving any regard for the title or authority. And I really think that they did, like, the reason Austin McMahon worked so well is they did such a good job telling the story. I loved how Vince acted like he was going to get out of the ring and not even entertain the idea of talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then it comes back in to kind of show, no, I'm in charge here. I am the authority figure. Let's start planting those seeds.
Yeah. And he did it very well. His character, there's not a lot of redeeming qualities you can say about Vince McMahon. And even with the character, there's not a whole lot of redeeming qualities, but it is pure entertainment. And he's just trying to stand up to that kid in school that is defiant. It doesn't really work out. He tries, but
yeah. Well, Jim Cornette says it all the time. The reason that the Mr. McMahon character worked is because that's Vince. Yes. That's who he is in real life. So, yes. But Austin, not missing a beat, comes out and says he doesn't answer to anyone or anything, and he doesn't really give a damn who Vince McMahon is. And Vince says, well, I'm your boss. And Austin goes, quite frankly, I don't give a damn.
Yes.
And Vince tells him that, you're going to have to defend the championship tonight. And Austin says, well, I'm going to go back and have a couple hot dogs and a couple Steve Weisers and think about it. And the crowd goes nuts because apparently we love beer and hot dogs in America. But if he comes back out, someone is going to get their ass whooping. It may be Jim Ross. It may be the official wearing the striped shirt, or hell, it may be Vince McMahon. And let me rephrase that. Austin said, it could be your sorry ass, and points right at Vince.
Yes.
But it just sets up like, hey, we're getting our ass kicked by Nitro. We need to get back in this race. This is the best horse we got. We need to let people know. Stick around for the next 2 hours because this guy's coming back out.
Yeah, and later on, Vince was not very good at listening to the audience. Clearly, he did this go around because he was undeniable.
Remember Dr. Isaac Yankum?
Yeah.
Speaking of Vince,
I
not
miss
listening,
him.
Yes. I wonder what that guy's up to these days. Hope his practice is still around. Speaking of Vince not listening to the audience, we still have the Godwins. That's a thing. But Billy Gunn and Road Dogg come out and escort the Godwins to the ring for the first match of the night. And I don't remember this happening. But Billy Gunn gave his hand at the "Oh, you didn't know," and when he comes out and he said, "Oh, you didn't know? You better recognize." And somebody basically farted in church when he said it because nobody cared. But they came out with the Godwins, and I thought it was really cool. They're wearing their South Park spray or airbrush T-shirts, and this is actually one day after the season finale of the first season of South Park.
Yeah,
and we didn't care about gimmick infringement or IP in 1997, apparently, because they have them right on the front of their shirts. Dog has Cartman, and I believe Gunn's wearing Kyle, and they have their sayings, "Oh, you didn't know," and "You better recognize" on the back of the T-shirts. Thank God, "You better recognize" didn't work out for Billy Gunn. But we're gonna get the Godwins against LOD. And obviously the Road Warriors / Legion of Doom looking for revenge on what happened last night with the slot bucket and the finish at In Your House. So I thought it, like, we talked about how bad LOD looked a couple weeks ago. No face paint in the ring. It really looked like Hawk and Animal took that to heart. Both of them looked way bigger when they came out this week. Looked in great shape. Obviously had face paint on, but it's all for nothing. And we'll get to that in a minute. But it was really surprising me how much we talked about Mystique and leaving room for the entertainment factor of it and wearing makeup and how important it is for some of these characters. 3 weeks ago compared to this, they look like completely different people.
Yes, and like you said, we'll get to it in a minute, but it's all for naught, really, at the end of the day. But I mean, they at least basically going out here looked their best as much as they could.
Which has probably got a lot to do with it, right?
And
like they know the contract's coming to an end. We're probably being diminished as much as possible. It looks like $1 million before the match starts.
Right. And I don't know how much of that was just Hawk's demons, but
yeah.
And the funny thing is, on the commentary, they said, I don't know. I agree, but I disagree.
Sorry, I need a drink there. I need a mug.
Oh, you're good. They said that LOD is the most dominant tag team in WWF history. I disagree. At least at this time,
wholeheartedly.
Demolition. Like, you could say LOD throughout the entire territory.
Yeah, they ran the South. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But not WWF. And I just don't think they've ever really been booked great in that company ever.
And it felt like it was personal.
Yes.
The match starts. We get underway, and we're going to talk more about the relationship between the Guns and the Godwins, or excuse me, the Outlaws and the Godwins in the next match. Because Road Dogg grabs the commentary spot for the next match, but basically it spills the outside. Animal eats the steps. Lights go out. Organ plays. Here comes Kane. I hated everything about this segment. Like, this has been probably the highlight for me up until this point. I think like the pop scare stuff they did with Kane is some of the best pops, some of the best reactions that they were getting at this time, or maybe even ever. Like the fear and how over he was, like not even just how over he was. We talk about the Undertaker's gong, how over the organ was at this time and the red lighting. It was incredible. But they come out and it just felt like this was the way wrong tag team to do. And we're killing off the tag team division too, by the way, by doing this. Did it with the Headbangers a couple weeks ago. But you know that the Road Warriors' whole gimmick is basically is based around no selling. Kane comes out and he pile drives Hawk, who immediately just pops back up like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then we get a choke slam and a tombstone, and the Outlaws jump Hawk. Animal runs in with a chair. Hawk's back up like nothing happened, and we're killing off the monster a little bit. And I think it really made him lose steam heading into the WrestleMania match. This didn't do anybody any favors.
No, and the only thing, like, try to put a positive spin on it. It's the best, other than Undertaker, the best person or team Kane has tried to attack because of their names. But the no selling just killed it, dead in the water. And I didn't care about the tag match anyway. I had no idea that LOD broke Hog's neck, Henry O. Godwin's neck,
Yeah.
and that's what they're getting at. But I don't know. I feel like Billy and Road Dogg were coming.
I actually thought that's why you asked me a couple weeks ago if I'd take the Doomsday device, because that's how that happened. Yeah. By the way, speaking of Vince being out of touch, the Godwins were Henry O. Godwin Hog and Phineas I. Godwin Pig. Yeah.
And the hilarious to rednecks.
That'll put a bunch of butts in the seats. Thanks, Tony Schiavone. But we got a commercial break, and we come back, and we ran the Outlaws off just to have them come back out and put them back in the ring with a microphone. Didn't really see the point of that. But this just proved that there's really no competition left in the tag team division. Mm-hmm. And Road Dogg says as much. And they sing na 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 na. Hey, 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 to the OLD, not the LOD, which is just them continuing to bury the Legion of Doom.
Yep, on their way out.
And Road Dogg says the only thing left for them is singles competition. They issue an open challenge for Billy Gunn for anyone who thinks they're tough enough. And out comes the dude himself. Dude Love comes out.
Ow! And
Road Dogg kind of peels back the curtain and gives us a little bit of a glimpse into the Royal Rumble. Hey, we said one guy, not three, because obviously Mick is rotating between Dude Love, Cactus Jack, and Mankind, having this kind of inner battle with his personalities. But Road Dogg grabs the commentator spot, as we mentioned a little bit ago, and I thought this may have been his best spot that he's ever done in the WWF up until this point. He was fantastic.
Road Dogg, yeah.
He was hilarious.
And all due respect to Michael Cole, he's doing way better now, but he was atrocious in this episode.
It was his first time ever doing it. Like,
I understand.
He'd never done it on the Indies or anywhere else. This was his first commentating gig, and he only lasts 20 minutes, by the way. He's done after this match for that reason. But when Kane came out to attack the Legion of Doom, Road Dogg and Billy were hiding behind the Spanish announcers, and Kevin Kelly asked Road Dogg, did he feel tough hiding behind the Spanish announcers? And Road Dogg says that the Spanish announce table is Spanish announce team is low key pretty tough. And the crowd was super hot for this match. Absolutely dead for what happened beforehand. But we thrust Kane into the situation. We've already seen Austin tonight. We now know Billy Gunn and Mick Foley can go. Two Hall of Famers for a reason, right? Yeah. But this was a non-setup, not televised, not advertised match between the guy that was Rockabilly 7 weeks ago and the guy that's been three personalities over the last 9 weeks. And obviously, people loved Mick Foley at this time, but the crowd was absolutely electric for everything they did.
Yeah, and for a 3-minute and whatever match, it
3:17, yeah,
pretty good. And it's a testament to those guys because they're pros. I mean, God knows they tried so many things with Billy, and he should have been a bigger star than before he was 60. But but it is kind of a precursor in this match to WrestleMania, because
that's what we're setting up here. So dude goes for the sweet shit music. Billy counters it, hits the famouser. Road Dogg goes, I love when he does that. But then Billy does kind of the Dude Love knee shake and one of these. He's got a Mike Jackson Thriller maybe kind of move. Not really, but I think that's what he was going for.
Yeah.
And then we see Dude counter, hits the sweet shit music, picks up the win. Road Dogg gets in the ring and absolutely waffles Mick with a chair shot. And we see Mick. Listen, Mick Foley taking a chair shot to the head is going to be a running theme on this podcast. Maybe we work at a bit or two about it.
Yeah.
And this is the meat and potatoes of the week, man. It absolutely folds Foley in half, like legitimately.
I think it's going to be a lot of meat and potatoes in our episodes.
Yeah, we might just call it the Mick Foley segment.
Right. Because obviously not for his health. I always liked the way he took a chair shot, not the one with the Rock, but when they would just swing and just his head would just snap back and just perfectly fall with it. I know it probably didn't feel good, but it's like he was a pro at taking them.
Well, one thing we
don't need a degree in.
One thing we've kind of crapped all over for the last 5 episodes is the lack of finishes and DQs and no contests. We get a result here. We leave the Outlaws looking strong with Mick Foley getting a win because Mick picks up the W. The Outlaws leave Mick laying. The chair shot, and then this looked incredible, by the way. Road Dogg puts the title belt over Mick's face. Billy Gunn, top rope leg drop on the belt. Looks incredible. We're 8 weeks removed from this tag team's debut They've beaten the Legion of Doom. They've won the tag titles, and they've left Mick Foley laying. They're making these guys feel like a huge deal. That's something that's been sorely missed over the last 12 to 16 months on the show.
Yeah, and I like what they're doing or did with them. They, like we said, ran through the tag division already. They're already the tag champs. They just beat LOD in not fun fashion, but regardless. And now they're doing singles competition with Mick Foley, who isn't necessarily the biggest star that he goes on to be yet, but he's still a pro in the ring.
The same guy that had the Boiler Room Brawl match with The Undertaker, and has headlined a couple pay-per-views up until this point.
Right.
So to leave him laying, and is kind of being dubbed as the toughest guy in the business at this point, willing to do whatever, and they leave that guy laying.
Yeah, they did what they needed to do. They gave Foley the singles win that he probably should have got over Billy. And it still made the Outlaws, unnamed at this time, look strong.
We go to commercial break and we come back with a Rock promo. And man, I just forget how cool the Nation looked. Like they all have the sunglasses on. And when we're obviously building the Rock up as the star, and we're a couple months away from the corporate champion and we're about a month and a half away from him leaving the Nation as a whole. Mm-hmm. But whenever we're about to get to another couple of factions here in a minute that nobody cares about. When you have a guy like, I wonder how much having Ron Simmons in this group and the experience, and obviously a former world champion, former Heisman Trophy finalist, but a guy that just gets what cool personified looks like in this group really helped them out. All wearing shades, all looked uniform, but they're still making Rock look different. And I think that was by design.
Yes. To your point, Farouk, Ron Simmons, he was perfect for that group. Almost all of them were new, with the exception of Kama. But
who would great 64 other gimmicks at this point. Yeah.
Great mind for the business, very selfless, probably teaching those boys a lot. And yes, to your point, by design, we have to make Rock look. They already know this guy's money, so it's like
it's hard not to see it, man.
Yeah, it's like,
The Rock says no one in their right mind wants a piece of him, and that's why Austin doesn't want to wrestle him tonight. He showed last night that's not about Austin 316, it's about Rock 911, because that's what Austin needed after the match, which may be the lamest. That might be Rock's version of suckering Succotash.
Yeah.
It landed flat, and I'm glad it dies here. But we're still just showing that, yes, I can lose, but I can still get over, and that's really what Rocky's doing here.
Yeah, and looked good. Like didn't need much more, and he's just. That's
something that we talk about this era that I think Austin and Rock do maybe better than anybody in history. Is put a button on a promo, and you walk away going, "That's all we needed." Like we didn't like. We want to see it again, but we don't need anything else. It's almost the perfect combination, which is the exact opposite of what we get next. We get a cut of Jim Ross doing English language or English lessons with Taka Michinoku, teaching him how to say slobber knocker. And then it gets even more confusing because then we cut to the ring and Jim Cornette is in the ring and tells us that we have a new number one contender for the light heavyweight championship. And before he can announce who it is, Jerry Lawler comes out. And this is where it gets a little confusing because Jerry Lawler, the heel persona in this, basically just does what Jim Ross, the babyface commentator, was doing, just to talk his face in front of people, not in a closed setting. And because the Jim Ross segment was backstage earlier in the day, this is live in front of the crowd. And Jerry Lawler comes out and says, Taka stole the belt last night. Brian Christopher is the real champion. And he said that the only reason that Taka is in the U.S. because there's no more room in Japan, and maybe tells the worst joke of all time. He says there's a woman gives birth to a baby every 4 seconds in Japan, and I'm going to go to Japan and find that woman and put a stop to it, and then pans the crowd like he just told the greatest stand-up comedian joke of all time. And then Jerry Lawler says Taka needs to speak English if he's going to be in the U.S. and needs to learn how to speak English if he's going to be a champion. So we have a babyface and Jim Ross teaching him English, and it's supposed to be okay, and then the heel comes out, says the exact same thing, and we're supposed to boo it. Clearly, neither one of these things are okay, but it was just very confusing why they went this route. And I know it's 1997, and this hasn't aged well, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, the racial undertones are terrible. I did laugh about the slobber knocker. I mean, that just JR can do no wrong in my
all,
eyes.
of all words, why would that be what we're teaching?
But this is why I just eye rolled at, though. Like, we just crowned a first ever light heavyweight champion, and
Listen,
this is the angle we're
also
going.
This is also a guy that Vince McMahon 9 weeks ago was taking pictures with because it was such a big deal to sign him to a WWF contract.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing with. And listen, Taka was great.
Yeah.
They just never let him become the star he could have been.
Yeah, I mean, and later on we get to the Indeed. Well, I guess that was
Funaki.
But yeah, it's like, what are we doing?
Speaking of racial undertones,
just let these guys wrestle. Like, not everyone in that division was great, but Taka was, and I'm sure you could find somebody.
I thought Brian Christopher was fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, that match last night was really good.
Yeah, and I really was fine with Christopher being in it. I mean, like you said, the racial undertones is one thing, but
I didn't understand what the point of he's not Jerry's kid, he's Jerry's kid, he's not Jerry's kid, he's Jerry's kid thing was. Like, why wouldn't they just lean into it? It didn't make any sense.
It was a waste of time in my book.
But before Lawler can go any further, the new number one contender shows up, and it's El Unico from south of the border, by the way. Lawler says that El Unico is another illegal alien, so we're just doubling down on the racial stuff. And El Unico pushes Lawler down, and Jerry says he'll take on both men 2-on-1, and it looks like we're going to get a handicap match. But before that happens, Mr. America, El Grande Americano, El Unico attacks Taka and rips off his mask, and to absolutely nobody's surprise, it's Brian Christopher.
Yep.
We talked about burying the Legion of Doom a minute ago. They totally kill off Taka here. They spike pile driver him. They give him Jerry's pile driver, and then Brian Christopher pile drives him. Listen, if this is supposed to be a shoot, Taka Michinoku is now dead.
Yeah,
like
he's gone from Memphis, if that's where it was.
Yeah, I didn't understand why we needed to do the overkill of the 3 pile drivers. The spike pile driver would have been enough.
Yeah, and again, just won the title. Like, you couldn't make him look a little strong considering you're trying to build a new division. I thought the whole thing was shit. But
yeah, this is the worst segment of the entire night, and this kind of gives us a glimpse into why the lightweight division goes the way it does. Mm-hmm. It just felt like if you're going to put filler here, the next match was perfectly fine for filler.
Yes,
this was just a burial for no reason.
Yeah, and that's
nobody looked good here. Nobody looked
Vince.
Like
Vince is like, they're small. Make them funny. Do whatever we can. Anyways, moving on.
Moving on to something bigger, maybe not better. Bigger. We get a new look of the person formerly known as the Interrogator. It's Kurgan with the Jackal. Jackal heads over and grabs the commentary spot as Kurgan's getting ready to take on Flash Funk. And this did not feel, listen, I know none of it's supposed to feel scripted. I get that. But the response for the commentator team to Don Callis, a.k.a. the Jackal, on commentary about what he's saying about Kurgan at the time kind of seemed to catch them off guard, because he says that the morons in Stamford, Connecticut, not knowing what to do with Kurgan and basically calling the Truth Commission gimmick stupid and saying that Kurgan's talent has been wasted up until this point, kind of tells you why Jackal probably didn't last very long in the Federation. Yeah,
he just took his liberties, and I can respect just trying to get, well, I was going to say he's trying to get his guy over, but then they're just shitting on his group that he was just.
Yeah, well, and important to point out, the Truth Commission not with Kurgan right now. They come out with it's just Jackal and Kurgan, and new music too. Truth Commission music either. 3 minutes 26 or 2 minutes and 36 seconds later, Kurgan locks in the Iron Claw, gives a choke slam version with it on Flash Funk. Excuse me, easy for me to say.
Kurgan gets Cold Scorpio.
Yeah, Kurgan gets the win, but does not let go of the hold. They reverse the hold. Jackal jumps into the ring. The Truth Commission guys come out, and Kurgan and Jackal completely ignore those guys. Jackal slaps Kurgan. They both just start laughing, and they turn around, and the Truth Commission guys like hesitantly start laughing with them, and then they walk away. They just didn't do a good job. They didn't do anything to set up why this guy's not the Interrogator anymore. Are they still a group? Like, what are we doing?
Just the classic example of Vince not caring. It's like, well, filler, just put him on. We'll try something new, and then I'll be bored with it in 2 weeks and change it again, or just scrap it all together. Honestly, the only thing that really irks me is the usage of Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio. Incredibly talented and
Way before his time.
Yeah, never got the spotlight he should have gotten. However, one of the best theme songs, and I think that beginning would be my theme song if I was Flash Flanagan.
There you go. There it is. Nice. Well, we cut to a break. We come back. It's the top of the second hour. It's the start of the War Zone. We get a recap of Degeneration or In Your House Degeneration X. And Ken Shamrock is the first declarant of the Royal Rumble this year. He said after last night's main event, if he has to beat 29 of the men to get another shot at Shawn Michaels, he will do that. We are still 48 days away from the Royal Rumble. So we give it a month and a half leading up into this pay-per-view. And why that's relevant, I think the reason they spaced this out is we're 6 days away from Starrcade 97. We're 6 days away from Hogan versus Sting on the other channel.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like they're going to let that happen. And just in case WCW decides to WCW and screw it up, which they do, by the way, we're going to let it give enough room to breathe before we put our guy kind of on our pedestal and head him to our biggest show of the year.
And it's the best thing they could have done because that
hindsight, absolutely.
That was the biggest match that WCW could have done at that time, the biggest story they've ever done at the time. So it's like, let's let it breathe in case they blow it out of the water or just blow, which
just in case Sting's not tan, brother.
Yeah. In case there's not a fast count.
But we start the second hour with the WWF champion in Degeneration X. Triple H grabs the mic first, says that Sergeant Slaughter and Mrs. Slaughter aren't man enough for Triple H, which why we're still doing this, I don't know. But HBK points out that, hey, I'm the one and only Grand Slam winner in this company. Obviously, still the European champion at this time, and he's won every belt in the Federation. The other thing that I don't remember being a thing, China had her own merchandise at this point. She's wearing her own China shirt. All three of them sporting their own individual merchandise, trying to make a couple extra paydays here, apparently. But he pans to Owen Hart and what happened last night. And Shawn, we talked about Shawn's facial tics during this era. He keeps looking at the Titantron. Yep. Now, he's either a little vain, which is definitely true, or he's looking out for Owen Hart, which is also probably true. But he did such a good job of continuing trying to sell Owen Hart's in the building, right?
Yep.
And he says that he got rid of the giant turd that is the Hart Foundation or the Hart family. And there's always that nugget that keeps continuing to float down up to the top after you flush a turd. And that nugget is Owen Hart. And this is a moniker that kind of sticks with Owen Hart for a long time, which is very unfortunate. But he says that DX is going to be in the ring until someone flushes Owen Hart out of the locker room. And they set up a card table with a bottle of Jack Daniels, poker chips, and cards. We cut to a break, and China's suggesting that they play strip poker before we go to the break. So we go to break with DX in the ring at the top of the hour, threatening to play strip poker on live television.
Yeah. And you know what? That's okay because the next match.
Well, hold on. That's the point. Oh. You probably have the audience by the hook right now because, like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, well, there's probably those kids that think like, "Oh, is China gonna get naked?"
Well,
but
it doesn't matter who it is. Like, you probably have 2 million plus people that are going to tune back in, and you should probably keep them around.
Yeah.
And what they decide to do is the same match we've been doing for 3 months.
Yep.
We get the DOA versus Los Boricuas again. We get this match that hasn't been entertaining one time up until this point. And they basically tell us that by putting DX outside of the ring, continuing to play poker through this match. Savio Vega hits Chains, I think, in the knee with a 2x4. The Boricuas win. Cool.
Week 2. The weakest looking hit.
Yeah. Whichever one of the DOA guys was. Sold it like he got shot, though, so hats off to him.
Yeah.
But Savio Vega rolls out of the ring and even gives Shawn Michaels a thumbs up. Hey, we're both heels. We're supposed to be in this together. Shawn Michaels looks like he doesn't have any idea who Savio Vega is, by the way.
Let alone the other guys.
Yeah. Which the commentated team didn't either. They called him the wrong name. It was Miguel Perez. They called him Miguel and I can't even remember what but they got his name wrong. Like, so the commentators don't even care who these guys are. So why should we, essentially?
I hate that I'm learning their names. Like,
yeah,
we shouldn't be.
Why is this still going?
And I don't know, Jimmy. Do you know? Are we done with this shit, or is it going to be another couple episodes?
We're not done.
I don't know.
We're not done.
I'm tired of it.
Unfortunately, we're not. Yeah. But the Headbangers come out, and these guys have been kind of the whipping boys over the last month and a half.
That doesn't change.
Yeah. The Headbangers come out, and they're not going to stand. They're not going to do their match while the Why Degeneration X is playing. Mosh and Thrasher flip the table over. HBK. I really hope this was worked glass, because if not, my God, because Shawn just brutalizes Mosh's face with his glass. And then destroys him with chair shots. Thrasher gets power bombed off the top rope, and not through a folding table like we see, through a legit card table. It doesn't even bend, and he goes through the center portion of it. And then maybe the funniest part of the night, HBK starts pouring Jack Daniels out over Thrasher's laid out body. Thrasher, kayfabe brother, opens his mouth to try to get some of the Jack Daniels that Shawn's pouring on him, and Shawn kind of perfectly pours it. Just kind of tells you where Shawn was in his life.
Monkey chug.
But then they absolutely destroy Mosh with chair shots. So apparently Thrasher maybe a little bit more in with the click than Mosh was at this point. But we get the look at Shawn telling Hunter, "Hey, go to the hard cam. We got to pose." And it comes across on TV clear as day. You can see it. And Hunter kind of turns his back to the hard cam and kind of does one of these numbers. Because here comes Owen Hart. Shawn forgot that he was supposed to set up the attack from Owen Hart. And Owen attacks. He strikes, gets out of the ring, and goes back through the crowd. I love what they're doing here.
Yep.
We're setting Owen up as this threat. We're kind of doing what we're doing with Austin. He can come from anywhere at any time. But we're not building the Shawn versus Owen at the Royal Rumble, and I don't understand why.
I don't either, because I know the end goal, at least with Owen's feud with them, is him and Triple H at Mania, but but
he's not attacking Triple H. That's the problem here.
As he should be attacking Shawn, but there is no I can't remember if they wrestled on Raw or something leading up, but it's just, why isn't this the money match right now? Obviously Shawn and Taker is money, but this is our chance to make Owen, especially in good faith after what they just did to Brett, look like a main event. And
by the way, we haven't even announced what the WWF champion you just mentioned. We're gonna find out next week that he's gonna take on the Undertaker. We know about the casket match and the injury in hindsight.
Yeah.
In real time, back in 1997, we have no idea what the WWF champion is doing at the second biggest pay-per-view of the year.
No, not at all. And as far as we know, Undertaker is gonna keep doing stuff with Kane. I don't know. I like I said, what they were doing with Owen. It was good. I like the whole segment. Thrasher took that brutal freaking spot through that card table. And one thing we didn't touch on is Shawn touching his.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. So Shawn is standing with his foot on Thrasher, and he's down to his boxers now because he's clearly losing at strip poker, and he is just tapping himself repeatedly.
Yep.
In his nether regions.
Oh, camera's on the whole time too.
While looking directly at the camera, which was kind of like hey Vince, you gotta come out here and stop this? We good?
He's probably like, that's such good shit.
You know what? Was it Morse code? Was he saying, Vince McMahon, I love you so much? But we go to commercial. Why are we doing this? We go to commercial. We come back, and we get the greatest streak maybe in professional wrestling. Jeff Jarrett is 2-0, baby, and he gets Vader tonight.
Yep.
Both guys come out. Jeff Jarrett has there's WWF superstars, and then there's me entrance. I forgot that was a thing, and good thing it doesn't last very long because it was awful.
Yeah.
But he comes out and he's taking on Vader. The bell rings, and one of his Shawn comes back out with Goldust. Jerry Lawler is now on commentary. Goldust is dressed in drag, and Jerry Lawler asks, "Hey, is that China?" I hate how much I laughed at that.
Jerry was brutal on commentary back in the days.
You remember, speaking of Jerry Lawler and Goldust, if you don't know, you know. Look up that promo. I'm not repeating what was said.
Nope.
But Goldust comes out in only a trench coat, flashes Vader. Vader runs off, gets counted out. Jeff Jarrett, 3-0, baby. And eventually the greatest world champion of all time. But we move on, and we are prime for the war zone, folks. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. One of the most replayed, downloaded, rewound segments in the history of television comes up next. So naturally, it's Mark Mero versus Salvatore Sincere. But Mark Mero comes out. Salvatore Sincere is already in the ring. Mike, I've watched the 1998 Royal Rumble 9,000 times in my life. And I always forgot who Tom Brady was, who, spoiler alert, for our live Royal Rumble show, he's entrant number 3. Salvatore Sincere is standing in the ring, and Mark Mero comes out and says he mopped up the mat with Butterball, obviously talking about Butterbean last night during the Tough Man competition. He says the punch heard around the world, a.k.a. the stool shot that Mark Mero hit him in the back of the head with, left him laying. He said he's mad at Vince McMahon because Vince, he has marvelous Mark Mero versus a jobber and a jabroni like this guy, and points at Sal Sincere. Says, you're not even really Sal Sincere, you're Tom Brady, who's agreed to do this stupid gimmick. We're pulling back another layer of the fourth wall and kind of showing. And the crazy thing is Sal Sincere is just standing there going, hey, brother, I'm just here for the payday. Yeah. He's just nodding along with everything he's saying.
I'll be sincere. I have no idea who the hell that guy was. So.
The great line here from Jim Cornette on commentary is he makes a reference to Johnny B. Bad. It's Mark Mero's gimmick in WCW. So hey, it's like, Mark, you've done some pretty out there gimmicks in your time as well. But Mero tells Brandy that he's going to kick his butt, and he's going to introduce. Before he does so, he's going to introduce somebody that's never won the Intercontinental Championship, never won anything, a real loser, and brings out the new and improved Sable. Yep. And Sable comes out wearing an Idaho potatoes burlap sack.
Writing's on the wall there.
Which leads me to a question. Where do you get that large of a potato sack for somebody to wear out to the ring in this situation? What exactly was going on in creative where they said, hear me out. We get a burlap sack, pal. She wears it to the ring.
Nothing sexier than burlap.
So Sable gets into the ring and Mero asks for Sable to strip off his robe and his wardrobe. She turns to the crowd, a la Jim Halpert, and then rips off the potato sack, and she is wearing a very, very skippy thong bikini that doesn't cover a whole lot of anything. The other thing that's interesting about this, we've kind of talked about this. Listen, this is no complaint because we've been burying the fact that they've been doing this. This happens on the show. Sunny is nowhere to be seen on this episode of Raw.
Other than the Street Fighter tournament, they kind of do like as commercials.
Yeah, she's not live there.
Yeah, that was just cringe enough by itself. But yeah, no Sunny, which we're kind of
oh shucks.
Yeah,
that's
sorry. Sable is definitely helping some young men usher in their puberty.
Yeah, and listen, Tori Wilson in Hall of Fame speech said she was happy to do so. So maybe Rena Mero was as well. But Tom Brady delivers the drop kick to Mark Mero. Mark Mero goes out of the ring, gets counted out. So Tom Brady, Salvatore Sincere, 1-0 against Mark Mero. Never forget. But Mark runs up the ramp and is trying to cover Sable back up with the burlap sack, and she makes sure to do as many 360s the whole way up the ramp as she can, just in case anybody's turning into the channel for the first time of the night.
And I had a question. I forgot to ask you and Brian in the last episode when Mark Mero came out for the Tough Man boxing competition. Mm-hmm. He pulled a sign out of the crowd that said "Sable Who." You think that was a plant, or do you think some nerd actually brought that sign?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. I don't think it was a plant, which means I believe that somebody would have actually brought that sign to the arena. Maybe it's Mark Mero's mom.
Yeah.
Probably about the only person it could have been. Hey, maybe it was you. If you were in your house to Generation X in 1997, go ahead and leave us a comment in the YouTube comments today. We'll thank you for your services.
If you were a true Mark Mero fan, I apologize.
For you being a Mark Mero fan, not for the show, by the way. But we get to the end cap, the main event of the night. It is the rematch between the People's Champion, TheRock, taking on this no-name guy from Victoria's. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Hollywood Stone Cold. But Vince McMahon is out at ringside, and again on the other channel in the main event, Sting has just descended from the Raptors and crashed through the ring to be a fake dummy that was supposed to scare the NWO because he's been attacking the NWO all night. This is the two biggest stars that we're building in the company, not the WWF champion headlining the main event of Raw, and it actually outdraws the DX segment. But here comes Rocky. Vince McMahon is at ringside, clearly looking and anticipating the arrival of Stone Cold Steve Austin. The glass shatters, Here comes Stone Cold wearing the same exact jeans and T-shirt, gold chain, Intercontinental title at his hip that we saw at the beginning of the show. McMahon looks pissed. He gets in the ring, and Austin says Austin clearly doesn't look ready to wrestle. Austin says he can wrestle no matter what he's wearing, but he's had his hot dogs and the Steve Weisers and wants to know what the consequences are if he doesn't face TheRock tonight. Were you disappointed that we didn't get this match again?
Considering we haven't gotten it yet, I like the angles. Like I
mean, we technically got it the night before, but it was that was more the Nation versus Austin than Rock and Austin one-on-one.
Like the match itself was like 2 minutes, if that.
Yeah. But again, we're compensating for Austin's neck injury, right? And the spinal cord bruising.
Right. And Rock isn't that. I mean, he's getting there, but he's not like the must.
He's not the Rock yet.
Yeah, not the must-see person you want to wrestle. I think people were more just interested in seeing what antics Stone Cold was up to, and I think it worked. But I mean, the wait was definitely worth it when we do eventually get them. But
which kind of makes me that's what the thought process was. Let's not let these guys touch. Let's keep people wanting it. Let's keep Austin as safe and off the mat as much as possible, but also allowing him to kind of generate some buzz about him and what he's going to do next.
Yeah, and if they really did have the finger on the pulse, that's really good because you can see that TheRock is money. He hasn't jumped off the screen like Stone Cold has, and he doesn't really get that definitive win over TheRock, which still kind of makes him look strong going into the new leader of Nation or just solo run. So I was okay with it.
So Austin asks what the consequences are, and before Vince can answer, Rock grabs the microphone, tells Vince he should fire Austin. He supports Vince. Fire Austin. Fire his ass right now. McMahon grabs it back and says that he will strip Austin of the title and hand it to TheRock tonight. Austin grabs the mic back and says, "I've been the IC champ. I've been the tag team champs. There ain't but one title I'm worried about winning going forward." And says, "Give the title to TheRock." Rocky gets handed the belt, raises his arms. Austin says, "Congrats, champ." Rock refuses to shake his hand. He goes, "Congrats, champ. Shake my hand." Finally shakes Austin's hand. Austin parades him around, raising his hand in the air. Rocky turns around. We already know what's coming. Bang! Stunner. Austin grabs the microphone back and says, "DTA, champ. Don't trust anybody." And
was that the first time he used that slogan?
I was just about to ask you if you remember him using this beforehand. I think that's the first time we got the DTA out of Stone Cold. And Austin picks up the belt and turns to Vince McMahon and said he's not giving the belt up that easily. Rock could be the champion, but Austin's got plans for the belt, so Vince needs to send a camera crew with him, and all we have to do as an audience is tune in next week. Same Stone Cold time, same Stone Cold channel.
I love the Batman reference.
Bruce Wayne is somewhere applauding and wearing a 316 shirt. But Austin leaves the ring, and I thought I remember watching this live, and I remember going, "Oh, they forgot to turn the camera off."
Nope,
because we always know that it was dark. Like even back then, everybody knew dark matches happen. Austin runs back into the ring and continues celebrating. Vince goes to leave the ring, and Austin runs the ropes, sends McMahon flying. This is a great job by Vince. Knocks Vince off the apron, and we get a little glimpse in, and really the first little glimpse of what becomes Mr. McMahon. We kind of saw it to some degree when Bret Hart pushed him down, and the frustrated isn't the goddamn word for it promo.
Mm-hmm.
But this was really the first time we got that version of Vince with this version of Austin face to face.
Yeah, the Bret one I don't even think was supposed to be like a thing to make Vince a character.
No,
I think it was just trying to pull back the curtain and just kind of touch on that he's the boss and make Bret like more real than the wrestling, just the wrestler character. Now, yeah, like you said, the Vince gets up. He's got the anger in his eyes. He's shouting at him. Mm-hmm. Love the drop. He say what you will again about Vince. That dude can drop like a sack of potatoes. But I remember just watching this all the time. I bought the VHS of Austin McMahon, and it was just their history with their feud. Yeah. And a lot of the promo was in that, or tonight's promos were in that. And I don't know how many times they showed him getting flung off the ring. It was, I love it.
It was good. It was a great bump. We'll probably show it a couple times on the overlay here. Yeah. But this is week number 77 of the 83 week reign where Nitro is beating Raw. Nitro pulls in a 4.3 rating where Raw pulls in a 3.0 in the second hour. Almost 8 million people are watching wrestling on Monday nights at this time. Yep. WWE would kill for half of that right now.
Oh,
and
sure.
We aren't anywhere near the peak of what this is going to be. So we come to the end of the show, Mike, and it's time. We said we're going to try to stay at a half hour today. We're now at 50 minutes, by the way. We're gonna grade the show. It's not an A, it's an A minus for me. I thought it was almost as perfect as it could get, but we still have the headbanger stuff. We still have the Los Boricuas DOA stuff. So that is the only thing that's keeping it away from me giving it an A. I'm going to give it an A minus.
Not trying to play copycat. I had the same thing, and same reasons. I felt bad for the headbangers, but
it was a good spot. It was a much better spot for them than the previous couple of weeks.
But yeah, the DOA and Los Boricuas and Kurgan and Flash Funk, and the light heavyweight stuff. Some of it good, a lot of it bad, but overall, great segments, great story building. A minus, best show so far since we've been covering this.
Next week when we come back, we will be 7 weeks away from the Royal Rumble, and I teased it a little bit earlier in the show. We're going to do this live, and we can't thank you enough. We've only been doing this for a little over a month, this show. We're going to get through the entire Attitude Era. Our numbers on YouTube have been fantastic. Everybody that has liked or commented on anything we've done, we really, really, really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please like and give us a subscription and an oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
In the comments. This has been Analyzing Attitude. We appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the videos that are on your screen right now. Brian Alvarez joined us to review our first pay-per-view, In Your House to Generation X. Here's a couple of other things on the screen that you can click on as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.